African tourney. And coming in from the world of boxing, former heavyweight champion announces return to boxing ring. Nigeria is set for African quarterfinal clash tonight in Morocco. Today's of these and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Welcome back. Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. Mike is here this hour.
Thanks for having me this morning. It's another beautiful day here, and I'm, of course, very happy to be here.
Should be joined by Chana Chiro any moment soon, but we'll get started. I'll start from tennis, where the African table tennis players in Diaspora Invitational Tournament ended recently in Abeokuta with huge praises to the organizers of the competition. Meanwhile, we saw a total of 25 boarding ping-pongers in the HSCC between the 27th and 29th of December, keenly contesting for honors at the Alake Sports Complex. This is a way to go in a bit to replacing the aging stars that we've seen in tennis.
Definitely. We need to have our own local competitions like this to see how we can, of course, churn out another talent that can possibly replace the aging athlete. And of course, Matthew Kuti, one name that I've been doing pretty well locally here. I think is very, very positioned to, of course, take his, place in the center of it all. And I think he's been doing pretty well. Take a look at some of the local competition that he's been taking part right here. I think he's been doing pretty well. He seems to be the star man, a man on showcase, and we just hope that he can be able to be that big name that can, of course, step into the foot or into the shoe of Haruna Quadri.
Well, let's hope that the Haruna Quadri replacement will be found any moment soon, because Haruna Quadri, yes, he's emerged as Africa's number one tennis player in the last year. And of course, going to this year, I think he's ranked number 28 in the world. But for me, it's looking like there's urgent need for us to replace him, or at least have a name that we're looking forward to.
Definitely. For Haruna Quadri, you see how he has been struggling. The Adgonye wasn't that impressive for him, unlike Haruna Quadri that we know. He struggled last year. That is the Adgonye 2025 was a year to forget for me, because he was being knocked out of major competition at the round of 32 at some point, at the round of 60-something, especially falling against teams that is, opponent rather, that is way better off and way better ranked. And for me, I think it's quite clear that he did not have a very, very good year. But then this year we hope that he's going to build on that. But despite the poor form that he had last season, he was still able to maintain the #1 ranking and 28th in the world. But then from the quality we know of Haruna Quadri, it is obviously clear that he's actually not in that level any longer, and age might be yet the factor that is actually working against him. And that is why I say that it's a great thing that we have the likes of Matthew Kuti upcoming star that is also dominating within the local activities and championship here. We hope that it will be the perfect replacement for him.
Well, let's just hope that we can have a replacement for Haruna Quadri any moment soon, especially in tennis. And yes, he's, like I've mentioned earlier, leading in Africa, but then there's need to replace him. Let's quickly move on, and we'll just hope that we'll have a man right there. But they're talking about tennis. Let's stay away from table tennis and look at what's happening in lawn tennis. Novak Djokovic, a well-known tennis player, says he has stepped away completely from the Professional Players Tennis Association that he co-founded, citing concerns about transparency and governance. This is looking strange because Novak Djokovic really, like I mentioned, like I mentioned, co-founded this association, way back, I think about 5 years now. What is going on now that he is stepping away from a body which he founded as against the established ATP and the WTA event? Of course, there's this Professional Tennis Players Association, but he co-founded this one, against the wishes of, against the objectives of the Professional Tennis Players Association.
I think it is an organization, association, which he midwifed, of course, alongside, one, two players out there, and citing a lack of transparency within the organization. I think for me, he's a man of his word. He had also, come out to openly criticize the ATP and even the WTA on what he tagged as a lack of transparency, and then again, not taking proper consideration to players' welfare. These are some of the key reasons which prompted him to, of course, midwife that association, which for now, according to him, it has veered off from the main core of what the organization stands for, as he also cited transparency within the system. And a man who always stands for his word, you expect him to step down. It was founded 2021. I think this is about 4 to 5 years down the line that he has been there. But last year seems to be, call it the final straw, which broke the camel's back, because most time when they gather together to share ideas, you still see some people going different directions away from the core value of the association, and this is the reason why he decided to opt out of that organization. And I think for me, for a man that has transparency, a man that doesn't want his name to be stained, and he cannot change the system, whereas the main objective and the focus of that organization has been, pushed aside, he decided to, of course, step down. Let's see. But for me, I think despite the fact that he has stepped down, maybe just now, another brand new year, he will be hoping to, of course, continue his quest to, of course, lay his hands on the 25th Grand Slam. But then, let's just see how it goes. But for now, he has decided to leave the association which he midwifed.
Well, let's talk about tennis. And still looking at, there's a ugly incidents out there in the tennis, the world tennis this time around, where issues of transparency continue to divide the body of professional tennis players. Meanwhile, Emma Raducanu was withdrawn from her match against Naomi Osaka, and that match is supposed to be Great Britain started a Unity Cup campaign with a 2-1 group stage win against Japan out there in Australia. British #1 has not played there since October, and now pulling out of 2 exhibition matches in the United States only last month because of minor foot injury. Again, he's pulling out of this one.
Yeah, I think injury concern have, of course, blighted her, performance, not just this season, but the outgone year. That seems to be a year that she was, about to get to her best form, but then couldn't continue with that because of the injury here and there, some foot injuries, some niggling injuries. So I think, and this is a new year. The Melbourne Australian Open will just be by the corner by 18th of January. And of course, you don't want her to risk not taking part in that very one. That is why, for me, she was just trying to play, on the safer side, try to be more cautious, and that is why she had actually pulled out of this very well. Maybe, having in mind to be 100% fit for the, Australian Open that kicks off on the 18th of January. But then it wasn't an impressive year for her, though she managed to, of course, win about 29 or 50-something match in a stretch, which has been very, very rare since 2021, where she actually won the US Open. So for me, I'm just hoping that she's going to get 100% fit before the start of the first, big tournament of the year, which comes up on January 18th.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and just hope that this year, 2026, we'll see some top players be part of competitions. After all, that's what sponsors and, of course, fans look forward to, seeing the big names at events. And I hope we'll have to have the compliments of these stars there. Let's go to boxing now, quickly. And the former world heavyweight champion, Tyson Fury, has announced he will be returning to boxing in year 2026. This announcement came yesterday, and Fury has not fought since losing to Alexander Usyk, if you remember, way back in 2024. What's going on here? Tyson Fury, is it about money or about proving a case?
I think for me, it's both. It's about money and, of course, proving a case. But then you and I know that Tyson Fury is one man who have often come out to declare his retirement intention, and sometimes he comes back unexpectedly. So even when he retired, this particular last time that he's coming out to say that he's launching another massive comeback this year, not too many people took him very serious, because it is not the first time that he has retired and come back again into the ring. Not the second time, not the third time, not the fourth time. So for me, I think it's more like synonymous to him retiring and coming back again. Let's just see what this year brings to the table. Many were expecting him maybe after making the big announcement this year that the next line of action could be a trilogy between him and, of course, Anthony Joshua. But who knows, the injury which Anthony Joshua got involved, I don't know how this is going to pan out, whether he's going to be fit for, yet another big bout between him and Tyson Fury, which is one of the biggest fights that so many boxing followers, has been anticipating for a very long while. So I think we welcome him back into the ring yet again this year.
Okay, I think you've just been joined by Chana Cheru, one of South Nigeria's respected sports journalists who has often been here with us. Nice to have you, Chana, in the year 2026.
Good morning, Cyril. Good to be here.
Happy New Year to you. And it's not often we'll find you, and so when we see you, tap from you completely. The year 2026 is here with us. What prospect does it have for sports here in Nigeria? But just before we look at the prospects for the year 2026, can you take a reminiscence of what has happened in 2025? Have you been satisfied sports-wise in the year 2025, the outgoing year for sports in Nigeria? First, in terms of policy, thereafter maybe we'll take a look at infrastructure and then achievements at the different sporting sectors.
Any true lover of sports will not be satisfied with how sports went in Nigeria last year. Because if you're a lover of sports, you'll be asking yourself, what do you want to see? You want to see development, then you want to see success. Was that development really? In terms of development, let's say for football, how many football pitches were built by the Football Federation? I'm not talking of stadiums, because we tend to replace stadium with football pitches. A stadium is where you go and play football. A pitch is where people can train and be developed. How many football pitches the Federation built nationwide? In terms of other sports, basketball, how many basketball courts were built nationwide? That's how you gauge sport development, because if my people in Obakri cannot play football, how did development go to them? If people in Africa cannot play basketball, how do they get developed? If people in Daura cannot play volleyball, how do they get developed? So we are going to ask ourselves, how many sports centers were built nationwide? That's one way to gauge sport development. Let's build them first. So we didn't do that. Then again, we always talk about grassroots competition. Oh, we hosted a tournament at Bile, we hosted a tournament at Katinala, we hosted a tournament somewhere in Bordeaux City. Okay, we did all of that. The Christmas season, we did all of that. The Easter season, we did all of that. But after you develop these talents, what do you do with them? Is there regular training, regular competition for them? Is there a program for them? So I'll tell you that in terms of development, we did little or nothing. In Nigeria, our success is gauged by tournaments we qualify for and what we win. So you hear things like, but we qualified for the AFCON, but we qualified for the World Cup, but we qualified for the Olympic basketball, but we qualified for the Volleyball World Cup. That's how we tend to gauge. I know of these are just accidental successes. So as a sports lover, you ask yourself, what do you want to see? For me, I want to see development, I want to see regular competition, and I want to see success. Did I see any of these? Yes, I saw the basketball team, the female basketball team win the African Championship. That's success. But then again, I'll ask myself, where is the female basketball league? where are the grassroots leagues? So that's why I say a lot of our successes are accidental. For football, we saw the national team not qualify for the World Cup, but we're the AFCON. So now we're setting the target of winning the AFCON to make Nigerians forget the fact that they qualify for the World Cup. But is that football development? For football development, we're asking, where is Nigeria's league? Where are the state leagues? Where are the academies? Where is amateur football? So I'll simply say, we just did last year what we've always done, go round and round in circles, hope we're going to win one big tournament, and list it as success for us, and we'll live happily ever after until the next year. That's what I said 2025, Cyril.
Okay, still looking at what we saw in the year 2025. For the first time, we saw the budget for sports, become so gigantic, and in fact, we had the highest, approval for sports last year. Of course, in terms of policy, the National Sports Commission were put in place. Your friend Musaki, what is his name now? Diko has been put in place there as the head of the National Sports Commission, and he's promised a lot. Do you think there's been foundation? Because, like I said, it's had the highest sum for budget in terms of budget allocation for sports last year, and like you're alluding, we are yet to see grassroots development. We are yet to see, infrastructure put in place that will come to place. If you look, let me take the case of Morocco as an example. Morocco told you they were going to develop their facilities in 10 years. And of course, after 10 years, in fact, we've seen what they can boast of. Most sporting competitions are right now in Morocco in the last a few years, after a month of proper development. Do the National Sports Commission, now charged with running sports, have such developmental plans? Yes, we saw it on paper when the budget sums were announced, but like you are saying, we are yet to see construction work going on in various parts of the country to match words with action.
Let's start with the National Stadium in Abuja, which they used to hold the Commonwealth Games. It's an eyesore. So there could be a big budget, but what's the budget used for? For example, it's already 2026. The next Olympic Games is in 2027, 2028, in 2 years' time. Already, Nigeria will fail at the Olympic Games. Because the country that wanted to win at the 2028 Olympic Games started planning in 2020. You need between 6 to 8 years to properly develop, groom, and nurture an athlete for Olympic Games success. 6 to 8 years. So, where are the athletes for the Olympic Games? Where are the high performance training centers? Where are the training grants? In Nigeria, we give out training grants 2 months to the Olympics. Training grants will come 6 to 8 years to the Olympics, 4 years to the Olympics. We have all those things. So that will tell you that in Nigeria, you just talk and there's little action. Yeah, you just describe Odibo as my friend, and I will never deny him that. Very good friend, very good friend. But maybe the work has overwhelmed him, or maybe, like most Nigerians, he doesn't know what to do, or just maybe he wants to do it and there are forces against him doing it. We never can tell, but we are not sitting in his shoes. But I tell you that, yes, there's a big budget for sports, but the question is, what's the budget being used for? I just cited the example of the Olympic Games. It's in 2 years' time. In 2026, you cannot point one single medal prospect for Nigeria. One. Because the medal prospects for countries that are serious, like the USA, like China, like Germany, like even South Africa, like Egypt, the serious countries, they need a medal prospect for 2020 Olympics in 2020. I started working on them. Specialized training, nutrition, teamwork, everything. But what are we doing? A high budget, and what next? And that's where I think we get it wrong in Nigeria, Syria.
Well, high budget is one area where we are getting it very wrong here in Nigeria, according to China there, and I think I agree with him completely. But Mike is here. I'll get back to you shortly, China. Mike, let's look at the issues around, China has really talked about how we are poor in planning, how we've not gotten it right when it comes to infrastructure. I'd like to ask you, where have we gotten it right? Yes, it talks about maybe accidental success in one or two tournaments. In your opinion, has there been anything right about sports, especially in the last year, 2025?
Basically, I think one area we will say that we really achieved a little success, maybe talk about the female basketball team that brought glory to the country, where they went out there and did the unthinkable, coming back with that particular trophy. I think that is the only area. But then again, the question remains, beyond the just, call it a temporary success of going out there to win the basketball championship. Back home here, have we been able to develop the women basketball league in a way and manner that we can be able to say, yes, we can compete with the rest in Africa? That is just the big challenge and the big question. So for me, generally, I cannot truly pinpoint one particular area in terms of sport development where we can say that we really had massive success in terms of the output right from the grassroots level. Because if you want to get it right, it's not more like a rocket science. You need to build from the scratch. You don't just have a temporary success and you say you've achieved success. And that is why I'm finding it very, very difficult for me particularly to pinpoint one particular area to say, yes, this is the real area of actually gain success. And I think for me, we need to do better. I know that Morocco, everybody is talking about Morocco, but then it wasn't just a one-off thing. More like a 10 years plan. They had to do everything right, starting from the scratch. And today, it's not even up to 5 years that beginning to reap the rewards of a deliberate and intentional plan. So for me, going back to your question, there is no particular area of a sport that I can say that we had massive success at the outgone year.
Achana, let me get back to you on this one because the under-19 women cricket team, yes, qualified. We talked about qualifications for tournaments. Of course, the fifth straight Afro basketball title win by the basketball team, the Tigers of Nigeria, and of course the 10th title won by the Super Falcons of Nigeria. In your own words, like I heard you before, they are accidental successes. Is there any way these successes could attract proper development? Looking forward to it, because I'll get back to you shortly on where I think we have gone wrong. But first, with these accidental successes, in your own words, is there any way they could be sustained? Yes, the Super Falcons won their 10th title. The D Tigers won, their 5th Afro basketball title. Then the Nigeria under-19 side in the cricket won. But I will restrict first to those areas. Is there a way these successes can be maintained so that we can maybe from there look at bringing up the areas where there are weaknesses, which we will talk about shortly?
I think the Cricket Federation can leverage on the fact that under-19 been qualified to get the corporate world involved. If the corporate world is involved, we get funding. I can begin to have cricket league. And I know in Lagos, a lot of secondary schools play cricket. I don't know about in other parts of the country. But how best can you develop a game if you're not going to go to the secondary school? So when you qualify for a tournament like that, you need to get the corporate world involved in it. And that's how you get funding, because sometimes a lot of government funding goes to what we call the bigger sports: football, basketball, athletics. So a lot of government funding goes to this training. So when your team qualifies for a world championship like that, you get the corporate world involved, leverage on it. And once you get them involved, because they like the visibility they will get from the fact that they are part of a team going for a world championship. And when you can do that successfully, they can bring the game down to the grassroots. And grassroots does not necessarily mean the villages or communities. That's part of it. But maybe the secondary schools. A game like cricket, a game like baseball, should be played in secondary schools. There should be a secondary school baseball league. There should be a secondary school cricket league. These things can start small, because that's how you gauge development. How many people are playing, apart from that national team? How many people know about the game being played? How many people are ready to play the game? And if they want to play the game, where can they play the game? They have the facilities to play the game. That's how you gauge success and development. So yes, good one they qualify. It's really great thing to qualify for a tournament, whether it's at national level or continental level or world level. After qualifying, what next? We must develop the game, and that's what I've been talking about all along.
Okay, China, thank you very much for that contribution. We'll just get back to you in a short while. We'll take a break. When we return from a break, there's more to talk about. The very low side of sports in the year 2025. And of course, what to expect in the year 2026. Can we build on what we've seen so far and get better in the year 2026? And of course, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be in action later today against Mozambique. Can they get to the quarterfinal stage of the ongoing African Cup of Nations, where big name countries like South Africa, Tunisia, going to the World Cup, have all crashed out of the competition? Then across in Europe, it looks like Arsenal is coasting away with Chelsea's draw last night against Manchester City. So stay with us. We'll be back in a jiffy. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. This edition of the program, we're looking at years 2025 and, of course, what we're expecting in the year 2026 in sports. And we've just been joined by Batel. Batel, nice to have you. It's Port Harcourt-based sports journalist.
Yeah, good morning, Siri. Good morning, Michael. A pleasure to be on the show this morning.
Of course, China is still across. China, let's get back to our discussion. Looking at the low points, like we have mentioned before, poor facilities, poor administration, and but then let's look at still the major ones. The Super Eagles of Nigeria are not qualifying for the World Cup. The year 2026 is looking like a big plus. This is the second time consecutively, consecutive non-appearance at the World Cup. Then I really do not like to put myself into the football side of it. I look at the World Athletics Championship as well, where in the past we've often seen a lot of Nigerians qualify for tournaments of this World Athletics Championship. But last year we had only two, athletes returning from the World Athletics Championship with medals, and they were not in the gold color. just in the silver color. Yes. Do you think that we have really retrogressed to the point where we crashed out of the World Cup, twice, and at the World Athletics Championship, where it is gauged, we equally did very poorly at the World Athletics Championship. Where can we go from here?
Year 2026. Really retrogress, like you said. If you remember, from the mid 70s, we used to have our athletes go abroad on scholarships, and that's because they performed well in different local meets, from the National Sports Festival to the national trials, and they got scholars from America. People like Dele Udo, who was killed, people like late 70s, early 80s, Innocent Bunike, Charles Nehiswelen, Chidi Mo, the Ezinwa brothers, David and Osmond, Mary Onyali. So we had that competition. Then there was the yearly Mobile Classics, where the athletes came, both local athletes and foreign athletes, they came to fight for their place at either the All Africa Games, the Commonwealth Games, the Olympic Games, the World Championship. There was massive competition, and that conveyor belt was churning out talent because, the inter-house sports system was still working. We had sports council coaches go and watch secondary school inter-house sports and pick these people raw. But all of that died away. So it's not surprising to me that we can't, really get athletes that will bring glory to us. And a few of them who have managed to survive the difficult terrain of Nigeria chose to naturalize for other countries because they saw what they see as better life for them. So I'm not surprised, really. And it's really going to get worse because there's no plan on ground from the administrator. There's no plan on ground from the National Sports Commission. There's no plan on ground from the state sports ministries. No plan on ground from the state sports councils. No plan on ground. So I think it's going to get worse. For football, yes, we're all disappointed. At least countries want to at least go to the World Cup. Only one country can win the World Cup eventually. Only 2 can play in the final. Only 4 can play in the semi-final. But countries want to go to the World Cup, and that's because of what it brings to you. It helps your league for players from the league that will make the World Cup team. It helps the public image of the country. It helps with branding. A lot of these brands want to identify with your national team, so more funding. Then, of course, the money that comes from FIFA. If we had qualified for the World Cup, Nigeria would have been due about $10.5 million just for qualifying. Because we are first going to get $1.5 million as training grant to prepare for the World Cup. Then for each group stage match, we play $3 million. So for the 3 group stage matches we're going to play plus the training grant, we're going to get $11.5 million for just going to the World Cup, even if we lose all 3 games. And by the time you convert that to Naira, it goes into billions of Naira. That we would have gotten, and maybe more. So we always want to go to the World Cup, but we must plan to go to the World Cup. In a World Cup qualifying period of 2 years, we had 4 coaches of the national team. You don't do that. So the fault comes from the NFM and Sports Ministry and then Sports Commission. Listen, our sports is on ground zero right now. Now, it's a new year. We are looking at the Sports Commission to tell us what the plan for sports is. It's not just about being in Morocco for the AFCON and promising that we win the AFCON. Okay, so if we win it, what next? If we don't win it, what next? We need to know what the plan for sports is. And if we can get a plan, and the plan must not be we must win the AFCON next year or must have the World Cup next year. You talked about Morocco. They had a 10-year plan to get the right stadium. A 10-year plan. So you can have a plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, and at every point, at every stage, we are gauging our success or our performance. That's how you develop sports. But of course, not Nigeria. We talk and do nothing.
We talk and do nothing here in Nigeria, and really disappointed last year when at the World Athletics Championship, only Toby Amusa with the silver in the 100 meters hurdle event. And of course, I think Ezekiel Nathaniel, who had a bronze in the 400 meters event as well. And that is all Nigerian if you compare it in the past. So I think the National Sports Commission really to sit up. We talked, how do you get that replacement for aging athletes at the World Youth Championship, African Youth Championship that took place in Abeokuta last year, 2025. Nigeria didn't win. It was South Africa that won at the overall on the medals table at the African Youth Championship. So there's quite a lot to do for the National Sports Commission. In the days ahead, we'll put our searchlight and see what plans the National Sports Commission have. Let's hope that they will talk to a top official of the association commission any moment soon. But Barry, let me get to you on this one now. We're looking at the poor outing of Nigeria at the World Cup qualifier. So Nigeria will not be going to the World Cup. But a lot of people believe that going to the African Cup of Nations for last year, dovetailing to this year, Nigeria is in a crucial tie today, against Mozambique. A lot of people believe Mozambique is going to lose, Nigeria is going to win. But if you look at it, South Africa, Tunisia, all going to the World Cup, have crashed out of the African Cup of Nations. How do you marry these two, competitions and strength of these teams?
Well, let me start from the teams that have crashed out of the ongoing 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco. You discover that the opponent they played is not the same opponent the Spikers of Nigeria are going to play today in their round of 16 games. So when you face a very stiff opposition, if you don't bring your A game to the party, you might or you will crash out of the competition. So for the teams that qualify for the World Cup and eventually they are out of the African Cup of Nations, I think for me it's a good one for them because they go back home and start preparing for the World Cup that is coming up this year. But talking about the Spikers of Nigeria and their game today against the members of Mozambique, you discover that the way the Spikers played in the group stage of the AFCON this year, if they put up that kind of a performance, I tell you, in the next maybe 60-70 minutes, that game will be a done and dusted game. That's if they play the same way they played in the group stage. But if they, maybe underrate the Mozambique, because if you look at their group, I think they finished third in their group, and that's to show that Mozambique was not that a good side in their group. If they were that good, maybe they might have finished maybe top or second in the group. But if you look at Nigeria's record in the group stage, they did pretty well, 100% record. They won 3 out of 3. So really exciting for games for the Spikers, the games they played in the group stage. I'll be looking forward to another beautiful and exciting games this evening. I think what they need to do is to just put smiles on Nigerians' face, knowing fully well that they didn't make it to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. This should be, the gifts to Nigerians, the apology that they should give to Nigerians. If they fail to make it to the final and win this competition, I think Nigerians will not be happy with the Super Eagles.
Okay, still looking at the African Cup of Nations ongoing in Morocco. Mike, are you surprised that South Africa, Tunisia, maybe Gabon are not into the knockout stages of the competition?
Not at all, not surprised. Take a look at the opponent that came up against that actually hosted them out of the competition. You will also agree that this opponent has the quality to outsmart them. I think the little surprise is about, Sudan, who find a way to, of course, win their game despite being one man down. Away from that, I think the likes of Gabon, we saw how they struggle, losing all their 3 group stage matches, leading to the government of the day, of course, disbanding the team and what they call a disastrous outing. You talk about South Africa, they came up against a very, very solid, very compact Cameroonian side that have been showing some sign of brilliance in this African Cup of Nations. So I think no surprises at all that some of these teams that you just mentioned, Tunisia, South Africa, Gabon, have been eliminated.
China, let's look at the tie tonight at I think 8 p.m. Nigerian time. Super Eagles against the members of Mozambique. This is the first time they will be playing at the, talking about Mozambique, they play at the round of 16 at the African Cup of Nations. They've never been to this stage of the competition before. And it looks like they are dreaming of even getting to the quarter-final stage of the competition. Will you rate Mozambique, or do I say African teams, making successes at the African Cup of Nations? Do you think there have been an improvement in African football such that Mozambique will win our first game, in the Nations Cup, and not just that, they are into the round of 16. Has there been improvement? Because apart from Mozambique, 2 other countries who have never won before in the Nations Cup had wins, but yes, they are not at this round of 16, but at least they had wins. Have there been improvement in African football?
Football has improved a lot from the 80s and 90s, where we saw some countries as small countries and others as big countries. Now with lots of players playing in Europe, from even the smallest of countries can stake their claim. Yes, they are still big and small countries, but countries cannot stake their claim. It's like Cape Verde being at the World Cup. How? You won't think about this maybe some years back. So the Mozambicans, they have a right to dream. And you know, when you get to this stage, you don't even have to win the match to qualify. Like Mali drew the game against Tunisia, and they were there on penalty shootout. So at this stage, just have a plan. Frustrate your much bigger and better opponents. Ensure they don't score, and you don't have to score, and you could be there. So it's very tricky at this stage. Look at the game between Cameroon and South Africa yesterday. Yes, the Cameroonians came up with something different. But with the kind of free-flowing football that the South Africans play, listen, I actually thought South Africa would qualify until I saw the game myself. And while the game was on, I knew that the Cameroonians are in for business. That's how tricky it is. Have teams improved? Yes, teams have improved. The smaller teams have a right to stake a claim for bigger things. Yes, they have. For today's match, will Mozambique qualify? We don't know. Nigeria is still the bigger team on paper. Nigeria is still the more ambitious team. But again, it's football. Stranger things have happened, Cyril.
Stranger things have happened in football. And do you expect anything strange tonight against Egypt? Benin Republic have what looks like a tactical coach that knows his onions, you know, in African football. Can there be any surprise for the Pharaohs of Egypt, China?
Genodro is a man that understands where he is. He understands the fact that in terms of quality of personnel, he doesn't have it. So he plays his football to suit what he has. As Nigeria's coach, he played a very boring kind of football. But he understood the kind of players he had, so he suited his tactics to what his player could offer. And that's what I expect from Benin today against Egypt. Right? They are not on the same level as Egypt, or people you think Egypt to qualify easily, but he's going to throw. He's going to frustrate the Egyptians. He's going to really frustrate them. Whether that to translate to winning, we don't know. But for the Egyptians, I don't think it's a game they'll win easily if they'll win. It's a game I would like to miss. I'll watch that game because I've been a fan of Osama Hassan, the Egyptian coach, right from 1986 when he won the AFCON as a player and when he played at the World Cup with Egypt in 1990. I mean, I've always watched him. Now he's coaching the national team. I also followed him when he coached Al Ahly National, even though it was short-lived. I want to see how he succeeded as coach. He may just be the third player to win the AFCON as player and coach, following in the footsteps of what Stephen Keshi did previously. So, and Al Buhari of Egypt. So we'll just wait and see. But I think that it's a game that the Benin will not come out to play any kind of football that we expected to play. They'll just be there to frustrate the Egyptians like Genotro always does and see what they can get out of the game.
Okay, gentlemen, we have the match tonight. Because I'm running out of time, I want you to just give your predictions for the game. I'll start with you, Mike. Your prediction for the encounter between Nigeria and Mozambique.
For me particularly, I don't like being put on the spot in terms of a prediction because I'm not good with that. I just I want to see the better side win tonight. Okay,
Barry, give me your prediction. And of course, who do you expect to be like the man of the match, especially on the Nigerian side?
Well, anything short of victory for the Super Eagles of Nigeria tonight, I think Nigeria will be disappointed. If that game is being dragged into extra time, Nigeria will be disappointed. Nigerians want to watch beautiful game tonight and, you know, see the Super Eagles of Nigeria beat the Mozambicans, you know, 90 minutes regulation time. If you look at the game they played in the group stages, Ademola Lookman has been fantastic. You know, I think he was not the man of the match in the first game. I think it was Simi Ajayi, and but he scored the winning goal. So I will expect Ademola Lookman to continue what he has been doing in the African competition. So for me, I want to see him be the man of the match. For the scoreline, I think Survival, they'll not be keeping clean sheets. A 2-1 will be okay.
Okay, I'm very sure we'll have enough time on our program Sports Extra on at 6 p.m. Nigerian time to look at that fixture. But for now, we'll have to wrap up the show. But we'll wrap it up with what's happening in Europe. Manchester United played a 1-1 draw with Leeds United, further taking them down. Everton lost at home to Brentford 4-2. Newcastle beat Crystal Palace 2-0. It was 1-1 between Spurs and Sunderland. Liverpool and Fulham ended 2-2. And it was Chelsea 1, Manchester City 1. Chelsea scoring in the 94th minute of that encounter, effectively putting Arsenal like in a 6-point lead between them and the second place side in the Premier League in England by 6 points. Manchester City, I mean, in this instance. China, what is going on in the Premier League? Is it coasting home for Arsenal?
What Arsenal is doing, what's happening around Arsenal, reminds me what happened to Liverpool last season. You know, while Arsenal are posting good results, those around them are posting bad results. So it's like Arsenal is doing the business for themselves, and their major chasers are helping them do the business. And if you ask me, unless something disastrous happens, I think Arsenal are coasting home to the title. 6 points clear in the first week of January is really nothing. It's really nothing. But you look at the strength of the team Arsenal has, and the fact that both City and Villa are not putting up the right fight to chase Arsenal down. Listen, if it continues like this until the end of January, Arsenal may just coast home to victory.
Okay. Thank you very much, China, for getting on that. We don't really have more time, but I'm sure we'll have to bring you back again to look at what's happening football-wise in Europe. But talking about Europe, in Spain, Real Madrid spanked Real Betis last night by 5-1. Of course, effectively chasing Barcelona as well. Deportivo La Coruña played 1-0 Oviedo. It was Girona that beat Mallorca by 2-1. 1-1 ended between Real Sociedad and Atletico Madrid. Then across to Italy, Lazio lost at home. Napoli beat them by 2-0. Fiorentina beat Cremonese by 1-0. It was 3 for Torino and Hellas Verona, no goal last night. Inter Milan beat Bologna by 3-1. Across in the French league, Marseille lost at home. Neuf beat them by 2-0. Brest beat Auxerre by 2-0. Le Havre and Angers ended 2-1 in favor of Le Havre. Meanwhile, it was 1-1 between Lorient and Metz. Paris Saint-Germain, beat Paris FC by 2-1. Yes, Paris Saint-Germain, you had me right, beat Paris FC by 2-1. I think that's much we can take across Europe. We'll have an in-depth look at them, at the results, especially in the La Liga, where Barcelona is having a ginger lead at the top of the La Liga. Until 6 p.m. when we'll bring you Sports Extraordinary. Remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. It is a new year. Enjoy it all.